So as I've gone from going from 0 properties 4 years ago to now 17 that I own today, I've learned a lot of little tricks and hacks that you can use in real estate and ways to kind of get around the system the way it was intended to be. And a lot of channels don't even talk about any of these different tricks, mostly because a lot of people, subscribers especially, people watching the channels, are going to accuse us of doing maybe illegal things. Even some things as simple as having 10% down loans that you can use on Airbnbs. I know the Robinsons get called out on that on their channel, and then Bigger Pockets had people like call them out on different things thinking that it's illegal. I know on my channel I haven't had it yet, but the fact that I house hack multiple different houses, people might think even that's illegal. A lot of these are not. Much easier though not to talk about it at all and just let everyone think what they think. Well, today I'm gonna go ahead and break that barrier a little bit against probably better advice. And I'm gonna tell you 7 of the many different tricks that I've used that have saved my ass in this game. And the more you have kind of understand how to manipulate the system, the more you're gonna excel in this as well. Unfortunately, you will have to learn to be creative in a lot of your deals. So I'm gonna go into the first 7, and like I said, none of these are actually illegal, or well, they shouldn't be anyway, but I don't know, let's see, let's let you decide. I'm gonna talk about 7 of the properties that I did stuff on, and let's talk about it starting with number 1. So as many of you watching the channel know, I actually started real estate with only $500 and then I got my first house. So how the hell did I do that? Because you need, as everyone knows, you need cash reserves in order to buy your first house. The bank is gonna ask for 2 months of your bank statements. You're gonna wanna see that you can have at least 2 months of mortgage payments in your bank account. I didn't, I had $500. But they also want to see that you can afford the place, even for the down payment. Now, I had a VA loan, so I had a 0% down payment, but honestly, the trick I'm about to tell you would have got me through it no matter really what the down payment actually was. So the first trick is how to get through that barrier. How did I do it? Well, it's actually really simple. The bank just only asked for 2 months bank statements. So deposit the money in your account on the 3rd month, on that 3 months away. Now, many of you may not know this, but the bank actually won't allow you to use large deposits that can't be sourced. So you can't just ask your parents, well, okay, in some cases you can ask your parents for money, but in most cases you can't ask anybody for money to drop into your account and then say, hey, I'm gonna use this money. You're not gonna be able to do that. Private lenders have to deposit that money at least 3 months ago, so it doesn't show up on the bank statements, and now they're considered seasoned funds. So that's really it. This will get you beyond the cash reserve requirement. This will get you beyond essentially any issue with you needing money to buy the house. I've even done this with down payments. We're gonna discuss that a little bit later on in this video, but essentially, yes, that is the easy trick for how to do that. So let's get into some stuff that's a little bit crazier, like spending money that I actually don't own. So on my 3rd house, I actually didn't have the money to buy the property. And so what I did with the wholesaler was I actually gave them what they call a proof of funds letter, okay? The wholesalers want proof of funds to show you can actually buy the house. Well, I showed them a bank account with that proof of funds, but I didn't actually have it. And so this was through the wholesaler. It's not to an actual bank or anything like that. So I guess gray area on whether or not this was illegal, but they accepted it. So it worked out and it got the deal under contract for me. Then I had to go out and seek the money because now I guess I have the money. But basically what I ended up doing was getting a hard money lender to fund the entire deal later on. They actually funded 100% of it. And I then told the lender, hey, I'm gonna switch this to a different LLC. So I'm actually gonna have to use a lender for this one. But no worries, everything's already guaranteed. And by this time, I already now had the lender letter. This is about a week later, and I had the lender letter saying, hey, yeah, these are very viable sources of funds. So this trick actually really came into prevalence a lot later when I decided to flip a house to myself. That's gonna sound really weird, but I used exactly this same strategy. We'll get into that and the other trick that I showed. A lot of these are gonna kind of combine up into some really elaborate strategies, but that was one that I managed to use in order to lock a house. Going forward, we're probably gonna get into more and more sketchy territory. So I don't know, maybe I need to Maybe I need to hide a bit of my identity a bit as I'm constantly disclosing these. This is gonna get interesting. All right, so just in case the feds find me on this one, I'm gonna go ahead and hide a little bit. And so I'm thinking it's about, before I go into some of the deeper dives, like realtors scamming their own clients. Now I've bought properties like that, which is really kind of weird. We'll get into that story. Let's start with something simpler, all right? Let's warm up to this. My second house hack. I actually managed to move out of my first house hack into my second house hack before the year was up. Yes, I actually did that. I moved out of the house hack and I moved into another house hack. So this was pretty easy. All I had to do was use my job as the reason. All right, so many people think that you can't leave your house after the first year. No bank is gonna, suddenly want to come and arrest you. You're not gonna suddenly go to jail or anything for moving out early. It's just you just have to have a viable reason to get your next house hack, and that's what I use. So I bought my first house hack in Baltimore, and then I said, you know what? This commute kind of sucks, so I'm gonna get my second house hack in DC. And that's where my job was. And hey, that worked out. And I actually managed to move out before my actual year was up. So I to go into much more detail in this on my channel. I talk about this a lot, and even in my private mentoring part of my business. So, but yes, you can get another house hack. That's easy. So I guess let's go to some more juicier stuff, like how I use the stuff I just talked about. And well, actually, you know what? Let's talk about the realtor who scammed her client. All right, so my business partner actually approached me saying, hey, there's this property, I'm gonna make up a number here, but essentially it was $250,000, let's just say. And the property, I was like, you know what, it's not really worth $250. We really should buy it really at $230, but to be honest, in the condition it's in, I mean, you only gotta put like 10 grand of work in it, it's real easy. They could just sell it on the market. And if they already have a realtor, there's not going to be a lot of negotiation room. The realtor knows they can sell it to the market at $250, so I'm not really interested. And my partner was like, no, I think they can make the seller drop the price. And I told him, I'm like, if the seller drops the price on this one, it's going to be a waste of their time. They could easily get it for the price. They just have to throw it on the market. He's like, let me go ask. So he goes and asks, and then they come back to me and say, hey, seller's willing to sell it for $210 now. And I'm like, there's no way. Like that the thing would have easily sold on the market if they just put it on there. So it turns out I was accidentally using a trick that a lot of investors use, and that is abusing the dual agency clauses in realtor contracts. See, when an agent represents both the buyer and the seller, it starts to sweeten the deal toward the investor. They can start to negotiate things. Now, normally it doesn't go the route of completely screwing the buyer or the seller. But in this case it did. But in a lot of cases, if you are trying to lock up a deal and you see a realtor is on it, you can say, hey, why don't you just represent me as well? That allows them to double dip. They get now both parts, the seller commission, the buyer commission in the deal. So if there's multiple offers and you are the only one that's going to give them both half, well, I mean, which one do you think they're going to choose? And so that was another one that kind of went into sketchier territory because unfortunately in this case, like I said, someone kind of got screwed in the process, but that's essentially how that worked. Ended up being one of our most slam dunk deals, of course, and yeah, it's going to continue to feel awkward as I keep going on with these. Here we go. So this is starting to get a little uncomfortable. Let's keep going with this. We're already this far. So the next one is where I accidentally used another common real estate strategy, which is to do a high EMD and then just to get it under contract and then negotiate them lower. This often actually works because they don't want to go back on the market. And so this was a complete accident on my end. I actually put a house under contract for 100 grand, and then I brought my mentor in the house. My mentor was like, this is probably worth 80. I wouldn't buy this for 100 grand. I'd buy it for 80. Well, what had accidentally happened, all right, before this was I told the realtor to put in a $2,000 EMD to the seller for my 100 grand. Now, I did do it with a one-day inspection contingency, and we were within that one day. So I did a one-day inspection contingency and then $2,000 EMD. But I accidentally added another zero. which is crazy. So I accidentally did a $20,000 EMD with a one-day inspection contingency. So that's a bit nuts. You usually put 2% or 1% of the total purchase price, but that's what I did. And only the seller knew that. So I didn't know at the time. My mentor at the one-day inspection period was like, yeah, I wouldn't buy this. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll bail out. And the seller was like, why? And I was like, I told my realtor, I'm like, yeah, we need it for $80K, otherwise I gotta bail out today. So the seller hemmed and hawed about it, I guess, and we were like, yeah, there's no way, they're not gonna drop it by $20,000. And then the seller accepted. The seller accepted, and I was like, whoa, I was kind of blown away. And I was like, all right. And then my realtor was like, hey, congrats, they accepted your offer, so I guess we just need your check for $20K now. And I was like, $20K? I'm like, what are you talking about? She was like, yeah, I was kind of surprised too. I was like, all right, whatever you want. So the reason I guess the seller went with this was because they knew I wasn't going to back out again if they accepted my terms. And well, obviously I've got $20K on the line. So if you put these higher EMDs, my mentor actually was talking about it, you sometimes lock houses under contract and then use your contingencies to pull out of the contract or make some kind of demand before pulling out. And this is not something that I think I would do intentionally going forward, but it is a trick that I guess a lot of people should be aware of. And that's why I'm hiding my face now and probably should hide it more because I'm about to talk about how I flipped a house to myself. All right, so I'm pretty sure the FBI won't catch me at this point. All right, so here goes the story of how I flipped a house to me. Now, as you know, you can't be on both sides of the seller and buyer side of the table at closing, but I wasn't, and I didn't need to be. And I did this actually 2 times, and the first time ended up flipping a house to myself by my partner had a novation agreement with the seller. All right, novation is we have the power to renovate and sell the house on their behalf. Okay, so that partner had that contract. Then the partner had a JV contract. So that partner with my company had a JV contract to then give all the profits to my company after the sale is complete on this particular property. So then I come in and I say, I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to buy this house with my other company, the one that the profit is supposed to go to, and I'm going to buy it for $300,000. Now, the crazy part about that is the property was only worth about $270,000. But the best part is that in a cash out refinance situation, usually they're going to go real conservative on you. But when a buyer offers a price, all right, an offer on a house, the appraiser actually takes that offer into account. That actually kind of, in a sense, becomes a biased comp on the market because the theory is that the seller and the buyer negotiated this. Of course, we just shot it as high as possible. Why, you might ask? Well, it's because in a normal cash out refinance situation, you get 75% of the LTV back in your bank account. But when you purchase the house, you actually get 80 to 85%, sometimes even more if you house hack it, which I'll talk about that in a minute. But if in this case, a normal purchase is 80, 85%. So that entire loan is supposed to go to the seller, but it doesn't because of the novation agreement. Because of the JV agreement, it goes right back to me. So the bank that I'm using to purchase the house gives the money to the title company. The title company then gives it to me. Then I come to the closing table and I say, hey, I don't even have the money and I don't want to spend it. And the title company's like, well, that money will be going to you anyway. The down payment that I would have spent just goes to me. All profits go to me. So I didn't even need the money to close, didn't need the money for the down payment, and I got a higher cash out refinance. So some of you might ask about, what about the fact that I made profit on all of this? Well, technically, I mean, this is how I say it saved my ass. I actually went a little over budget on this one, but it does allow you to renovate for way more than you should have. And that gets into my next deal. All right, this is the last one I'm gonna give to you guys today because it's getting a little dangerous out here. Essentially, I flipped a house to my business partner. So using similar tactics that I did in the previous one, I actually over-renovated a house where I was going to be at least I don't know, $17,000 over budget. Basically, I would have lost $17,000 if I flipped it, and then refinancing it would have lost me like $90,000. So instead, I flipped it to my business partner. He used an FHA loan to purchase the property, basically a 97% cash out refinance. Okay, and then after that, he deeded the property back to me. Or he deeded it to our company.
So we did a 97% cash on refinance, basically using the exact same trick, and then got all of that money right back to us. And the best part was we could keep upping the price, because every $10,000 we raised the price, he only had to spend $350. That's it. That's all it cost us. So he would spend $350, we'd get $10K because the loan goes to me. So that was a really cool trick.
And we're done. All right, so that's pretty much it. Those are the 7 tricks that I'm going to show you today. I'm going to go in much greater depth of those in future videos, and I'm going to show you more tricks and hacks. If anyone watching this feels I did anything illegal, I actually made all of this up, and none of this actually ever happened, so I don't even know what you're talking about. But for those of you who want to know about the theoreticals of it happening more, follow the channel, and I will get into more detail about how I did all of this. And we're going to get into far more tricks in the future, because there is a whole lot of stuff happening in this business. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions, comment below, and I'll talk to you all very soon.